Welcome, everybody. We're starting out with a strong 64 participants already. Give a few calls to your team members that aren't there. You can check them out on the participants list. It's good to see everybody's name there. It is just exciting to think that we are coming together wherever we are across the country. And today we get to come together to listen to Bill Predebon. He is such an incredible instructor. He's an incredible human being, and he's just got a wealth of experience to share with us. He is someone that's been with Renatus and the company previous, and been really doing great things with that. He is a real estate investor. He is an entrepreneur. He has just like I say, this wealth of experience and knowledge that he's come to share with us. Bill, we're glad you're with us this morning. How are you?
Ron, I am excellent, my friend. How am I coming through?
It sounds great.
Well, that is a bonus. Anytime that happens with my computer, we are good to go. Right on. Thanks for that lovely introduction. I appreciate all the kind words as always. It is a pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for taking care of everything and getting this show started. And just for being awesome. Hey, congratulations on that deal. How's that going, by the way?
Hey, it has really been fun. I was there yesterday. We've got the demolition done on the basement. It looks fantastic. We had walls up. You know how some people put up walls just kind of in any way that strikes them at that moment that they're building and have a hammer in hand. And we've got the walls down. We've got this pristine open floor plan now. We're ready to put up a couple of bedrooms and a bathroom. The upstairs is getting ready. We're also ready to put in new electrical. So it's coming together. It's exciting. Thank you.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, so you guys are going to redo the whole electric and everything. Yeah, out here in Arizona, we don't have that basement issue. We have no basements. The ground's too hard.
And that's not a bad thing. We got into this when I found that there were some foundation issues. We got those resolved yesterday, and the green light to move ahead. So it can be exciting. There's always that unexpected element, right?
Exactly. And that's exactly what leads us into this today's little topic, if you will. So congrats on that. Welcome, everybody. We're at 74 people. So if you guys want to shout out and try to put this call over the 100 person mark, that would be fantastic. I will kick it off, but I know I'm no Michael Huggins, but get as many of your people as you can. You never know. You never know what lives we can change by putting on these calls. So thanks for being here, everybody. I want to have some fun. I'm glad everybody's on this team call as well. I love the chat, by the way. If you guys have any, questions or topics you guys want to discuss, as you know, pretty much every week, I'm more than happy to take questions, and it kind of takes me off on another tangent, if you will, on the training. So it's really cool. So if there's something, I don't know, something you're working on in your business and you think maybe a chat would help or a discussion about it, then type it in there or whatever, or come off mute. I don't care. So we're gonna talk about no worries, right? It's so funny because Ron, he's like, hey, sorry, I'm a little late this morning getting to me on the topic. And I was like, man, no worries. It happens to all of us, right? And so one of my partners in crime here yesterday, one of the leaders with me here in the Scottsdale Renatus group, if you will, Kevin, he trained last night on our weekly team call for Scottsdale. And it was funny that his topic, and he kicked it off with, and this is a guy who's been with us for 2.5 years. His dad is Dr. G, just so you guys, in case you guys don't know him. Dr. G, of course, is a PAC member and a national leader, an incredible individual. Him and his wife Sylvia, you guys are all familiar with him, I'm sure, of course, and Sylvia, and been with the company for a long time, and just been a marketing staple in this business. Direct sale, he's top 3 all time in direct sales of his own personal business on the PAC. and Kevin is his son, and Kevin was introduced to this by Dr. G years ago, back in the day, 2009, or I think. And Kevin turned it down, man. He's like, not only no, but HE double whatever no, because he had gotten burned in real estate. So he watched his dad grow this amazing business, both in real estate. His dad for 64 when he started. If you don't know Dr. G's story, get a hold of it. But started at 64. He actually worked in one of my masterminds on my team. He wasn't even on my team, but I had a mastermind for my real estate group back then, and I do it every week anyway now. But back then, and Gary was like, "Hey man, I just want to get into your real estate mastermind." He's like, "I really want to do real estate," and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, "Who's this guy?" He's like 64, and I'm joking, but I was like, "Gary, it's for my team," and he was pretty persistent. In fact, Gary had more ambition than the majority of the people on my team that were in my mastermind. I'm like, you know what? If anybody deserves it, it's him. And I got him in my mastermind, and we sat down. We had this first deal. We were in a lobby of a hotel, and we were all talking about what we were working on in our real estate business and stuff. And I brought up the fact that I had a property going on the market that I just rehabbed, and I was selling it turnkey back then. I had a little system where I was buying it, fixing it up, and then I was putting tenants in it, and then it was cash flowing, and I would sell it. And he had a buyer. He had a client. He had a friend who was investing in his real estate business with him, or was going to. And he brought the deal, and in 3 hours he made $3,000, and it was his first deal at 64 years old. Anyway, Kevin watched him. That's just one story about Dr. Gary. He did a lot of fix and flips when he first got started, but Kevin watched him grow into this entrepreneur, into this real estate investor in the worst real estate economy ever, and watched him for 5 years, and finally just watched him out earn him. His dad's at 64, retired and coming back from the depths of bankruptcy and everything, and he watched his dad, and he out earned him year after year, and finally he got started. So he got started with us about the same time I re-engaged, 2016 March, and as he got going, he's a natural born leader. He's been working with his dad for a long time in public speaking and in building ministries across the nation. And so he got 5-star pretty quickly through Warm Market. Believe it or not, Kevin's story is pretty good. And he got 5-star through Warm Market, and he worked on the marketing first. But then he found a deal about 6 months into Renatus, and he and his partner on that deal split $64,500 on their first deal. So he had a decent first year, and then last year he got into a couple real estate deals, and also was marketing full time up on leadership. And he got on the phone yesterday. He trained, and he's driving down the road, and he took the car and it needed tires, I think, yesterday. And then as soon as he drove it off the repair lot, he's got work to do. He's got kids to, he homeschools his kids. So he's telling the story, and then he hears this pop in his motor, and then he brings it back into the shop, turns it right around, and, they don't know what's wrong with it. It could be something serious. He might have to buy a new car. He's got regionals with us this week here. He's got, a team he's got to train. He's got, a real estate he's working on. Just all of these things that we deal with. And it was just a reality. It's just a fact of life that it happens to all of us. It doesn't matter what level of success you're at. It happens to all of us. And it's just how we react to it, how we pressure on through it, how we correct it, how we adjust, how we adapt, how we grow, is what makes us who we are, is what makes us continue to be successful, continue to grow, continue to be amazing, as you guys all are. So yeah, I want to have some fun today. I want to have fun every day, but I want you guys to, I hate that I want, I hope, my hope is, my goal is my outcome that I'd like to get from this call is that you guys have a good time. It's a little bit different than Michael and Christian. I don't use the iPad thing. And so you guys can watch it. You kind of can do your own thing and listen. And it's just the way I train. A lot of times I'll do a PowerPoint at our trainings here, but for the most part, I just kind of, I think real life experiences really help relate. And then if I can apply some practical, actual how-to knowledge in association with real life experiences, hopefully that can benefit you guys. And that's the goal. So, last week I was telling you guys about, and I'm going to get into a few, it happens to us all stories here, but, last week I was telling y'all about this lady in Denver. And I mean, I was stoked, you guys. Like I was pretty happy. This 66-year-old woman who was sharp as a nail, had some real estate experience, as I told you. And if you weren't on the call, no big deal. But, she was, we're at 83 people, by the way. So if you guys can make a few more calls, that'd be great. Shoot out a couple more texts, make a few calls. How is that even possible? Shoot out some texts. Anyway, so I was pretty stoked on this lady coming to the event. And on Saturday, at the Super Saturday last week, she texted me, how I had re-inspired her about Renatus and so on and so forth. And so, she was familiar with it. She knew it was 20 grand. So it was kind of a really qualified lead. And it's interesting, you guys, I sent her she asked if there was anything to do. And I don't think I told the story, but so I sent her to YouTube. And, there's a lot of great testimonies on YouTube. There's a lot of great stories on YouTube. There's a lot of great information about Renatus on YouTube. And I got a text on Monday, I think. It might have been even Sunday night. And she's like, thanks for, I don't know. It was pretty negative. It was, I'm really not interested. She's like, it wasn't, I shouldn't say that. It wasn't that negative. I mean, she was like, I regret to inform you, given your passion for this, given your enthusiasm and our conversations, she's like, I just regret to inform you, I'm not interested in paying 20 grand, whatever her excuse was, whatever her reason was. And she just, saw it out there and just said, you know what, it's, there's a lot of stories about people, wasting their money or whatever she said. And so, it's just a prime example that if I had hung all my hopes on one Craigslist person, going to an event, and, I was really stoked on her and I thought she had potential to close and fund and everything. And that was my, that was my fish. It could be really disheartening. You know what I mean? It could really be a letdown, but if you've got, 10 or 20 or 30 of those leads, it's not the end of the world. It's enough of a story for me to tell the story. But my example was that a lot of times, we really pin some hopes on some people. We really get excited about some folks that we talk to or even warm market that we're excited about. And it just doesn't pan out. And you know what? No worries. It's no big deal. It's either not for them right now. And most of the time it's just right now. For her, it may be forever. She's already seen it a couple of times. And I probably won't re-engage. In fact, I'm pretty sure she said, don't text me again. Something like that. And I told her, you know what, if she ever had any real estate questions, she could always reach out to me and bounce any ideas off me. And she didn't even respond to that. So, Kevin's training yesterday was actually something I was thinking about for my training, not only today, but I'm talking to my team as well. But mostly, I don't know if you guys know this, but every day, I start working on this training at night. Start to think about it, come up with a topic because I know Ron's going to ping me and say, "What's your topic?" And when I first started, it would be 5 minutes to 7, and I'd come up with something. So now I get up, now it's getting to be winter. It's not cold yet out here yet in Arizona. It was pretty nice. I put a hoodie on today with shorts, but it was still, you guys are probably laughing in Utah, but it was still pretty hot. I actually had to take it off when I was walking my dogs, but I got to get up at 5:30 and walk my dogs, and so I can get home and have coffee and give them treats, and walk my 30 or 40 minutes with them, and then get ready for this call, get some coffee and all that stuff. So, I was definitely prepared for this call, but it's funny. I don't know if nervous is the right word, but I definitely get anxious or whatever, and want to just really create some value for you guys. So let's get into it a little bit. Michael's been talking about funding. It's been some pretty amazing funding topics, conversations, and examples of funding that he's been using over the last 3 sessions that he's been training Monday, Wednesday, and yesterday. And so, I was talking to a guy who I got off, I'll tell you, if you're not using multiple fishing poles, there's step number 1 is get some lead generators and going out there, because it's out there. I'll tell you, I'll go through a lot of leads. I was pretty stoked about my leads in Denver and Seattle. I got a few more to follow up with, but to be honest, I haven't gotten anybody to the meetings in Denver and Seattle on my campaign last week and the week before for those territories. And so, but I still use Craigslist, and I know there's people on my team that, and people on the Scottsdale team that if a lead source doesn't seem to be working, it's easy to quit. It's easy to give up. It's easy to change it up, whatever it is. And, I just thoroughly believe in it. I know that it works because I have proof that it works. And I have many, if not 50% of my team from Craigslist. So I met with this guy, Otis, and I'll tell you guys, when the right person comes along, it doesn't matter if you send them to YouTube, the website, your grandmother, nothing's going to be said to them that's going to disappoint them and turn them off. It's just going to reinforce their desire and their belief when it comes to Renatus. So, he's been to several events. He's brought his wife to events, and I may have mentioned him before, but, the funding is always the first step, right? So funding, again, when someone buys the combos, you guys know it's the beginning. So let's get into it. So I talked to Otis, and here's the deal with Otis. So we went through it, and there's not a lot of resources there personally, just based on some things. And he's pretty young. He's in his mid-30s, but he's got 2 kids and a family, and he works hard, and his wife works hard. And, struggles for all of us, right? It happens to all of us. Financial struggles they're just a way of life. They're a way of life until we change it, for the majority, right? And that's who we're talking to, is the majority, you guys. So come on, it's okay. Like as soon as we accept this, you write that down or whatever, accept it, right? So it's cool. And when we're putting out street signs, and we're putting out Craigslist ads, and we're putting out, want ads, that's who we're attracting, right? We're not going to meetups with lawyers and doctors, and I don't know why we always say lawyers and doctors, but we're not going to meetups with successful entrepreneurs already, right? Necessarily all the time. We're doing a little bit of both. So I start talking to him, and there's not a lot of resources there. So what we did find out is that, he does own his own home, and he has a significant amount of equity in his house, and he needs to tap into his equity. And my first thought is a HELOC. And unfortunately, the HELOC is not, it's not in his wheelhouse right now because of some issues with, credit. So, I went and asked him, and it's interesting because I asked him a few questions, and he did say, hey, we tried to refinance our house and we didn't get a loan. We didn't qualify. So I know he's interested in a refi. I said, well, what if I could help you get a refi? Or not help him like myself personally, but what if I had a loan officer who maybe gave him a second opinion? And I said, are you open to that? Of course. And he says, yeah. So my point to this so far is that, it's imperative that you listen to what Michael's teaching. And I know it's not just Michael, but everybody on the funding, that you understand the funding, because it's a conversation that has to be had. And I'll tell you what's easy, if you can remember this, is that for me, in my experience with most of my customers and most of my team members and stuff like that, is that when someone is in a position where it's difficult, if you want to call it that, if it's not, obvious which way they're going to fund, and we have to search, and we have to discover, and we have to figure it out. Over time, your conversations with them, you'll get to know them. Like the best thing you can do is keep inviting them and have them come. And if they're interested in this, and they're not afraid of the money, and they really truly want to figure it out, I promise you, they will come more than one event. And as they come to more than one event, they're going to hear more opportunities about funding. They're going to talk to different people, and then you're going to continue to talk to them, and it's going to be an easier relationship that you're going to build. So, I know this because I've experienced it, that if we decide if we write somebody off and we decide they can't fund, we spend less time and less time with them, and they fall off the chain, then they're on a drip. And I'm going to differentiate between, someone who just can't fund and someone who can. But the minute he told me, after about our third conversation, our third meeting, that he had well over $100,000 of equity in his house, I know there's options, right? Worst case scenario, there are lenders who will lend on it, and there are private lenders who will lend on that equity. So my conversation went from, to asking him about resources personally that would invest in him with security. For example, when I asked him, I was quiet, and I said, who would you ask? I said, if you absolutely had to get a new car and you had to drive your kids to school and pick them up, I said, who would you go to? You know what I mean? Your credit, you can't buy one right now, necessarily, unless it's 18% from one of the dealerships. I said, who would you turn to? So, he's like, well, he mentioned a couple people, right? And I said, okay, so you just need to write them down. We're not going to call him today. We're not going to talk to him today, but we're going to talk about it. And so my point is that the resource was there, being the house. And as I got to know him and got to understand him, it was easy to ask questions about this. And when we would meet and when we talk on the phone, this was our focus. Our focus wasn't the education. It wasn't the next event. It was, we need to fund. And how are we going to fund, and how are we going to leverage this asset that he has, based on the fact that he can't personally leverage it, right? So I asked him about refinance, and if he would be interested in talking to one of my guys who I use and I refer to a lot of borrowers that are looking to buy houses. And he did. So we got in touch with Ricky, and we have a solution to absolutely leverage his house. What we're going to do is, given the situation of his credit, I won't get into all the details, but we're going to be able to provide him with a short-term loan that will eliminate the majority of his debt, which is not a lot, and basically simultaneously utilizing the systems that these loan officers and these credit guys have to improve the credit, and then refinance him back out of that short-term loan, all enabling him, even on the short-term loan, to leverage his house to get the education. And it's a very, very quick loan. It's almost like a hard money loan. It's an asset-based loan to an extent, but it's done through a licensed professional loan officer, so that obviously I'm taken out of the picture. It's not my decision. It's his decision, and he works with the loan officer making those decisions to do this so that we stay compliant, as you guys know. But the point is that I love what Michael's doing with the funding and his training, because it's obviously, if you guys seriously take it seriously and pay attention to it, you're going to constantly find people that are interested and are going to struggle with the ability to fund. And being able to ask questions and get to know people. Like, I don't know if you guys picked this up, but, and I would take mental note of this as well, is that Michael honestly spends, and I know you guys do too, because you guys are on this phone and you guys are no joke. And even if you're new, you're here and you're making a commitment. And that to me means that, you guys are already doing these types of things. But Michael builds relationships with his folks, right? I mean, he truly asks questions and cares, and we all do. It's a people business. And as you get to know these folks, you're going to find out what they're capable of, because they're going to tell you, and they're going to want it more and more. You know, one of my students was a passive sale, whatever you want to call it, was a qualifying sale, and he literally came around for almost 3 months, and it might have been even a little longer, according to him, 4 months, where he wasn't even an IMA, but he was coming to an event. It's funny because Kevin went up to him one time at one of the events. He's like, "Dude, how long you been coming here?" He's like, "Like 3 months, 4 months." And he's like, "Yeah, is it time for you to enroll already?" And we're joking around, and it's actually good. It's good that Kevin said that, right? So, but I will tell you, because he came around, after hearing it 100 times, it finally dawned on him that he too had equity, not in his house because he was only 22, but in his parents' house. And he figured out that he could leverage his parents' house. And we were able to do that when we worked together on getting it done, and get a loan against that equity in his parents' house. It's amazing what can truly happen. Now, here's the thing. Again, I go back to the very first point I said, was that, guys, when we're doing this, if we're only working with one person, these things take time. Otis has been around for a month now, and had he had the right tools to his advantage, he could have already utilized the resource on his own instantly. HELOCs nowadays are 2 to 3 weeks with a good credit score and a very streamlined process. And yet, here we are still trying to fund. So if you only have one Otis or one person or two people, and they're in the pipeline for you, and it's taking 2 or 3 months to fund, it becomes a struggle, right? It happens to all of us. It's important in our business that we're constantly working with more people, that we're generating more leads. So as I'm going through the struggle I had with the lady in Denver, right, and some of the folks, a half a dozen, probably 10 calls to people in Seattle that didn't show, right, or didn't return my calls, or literally, said they'd go and didn't show, like I said, right. All the meantime, I have several people in the funding process, right. I have 3 full combos in order. One's funding this week, and then I've got Otis now that should be able to turn this first loan over by the end of the week, and which will he's already signed his order, and he's ready to get those funds in for funding. So, but if those weren't the only 2 people I was working with, right? I mentioned this before. I'm going to move forward. I want you guys, if you have any comments or questions or thoughts that you want to type in, go ahead and go on. So I want to get to some actual, conversations, if you guys will. So it's something you can work with. So the thing is that whatever struggles, whatever realities you're going through, struggles, maybe not even struggles, right? But I'll tell you, I've got I don't know. I think if I buy this house at the end of the month, I am buying this house at the end of the month. I've got 7 projects right now, a little bit more than I wanted to do. Fortunately, several are on the market, and I'm finishing 2 up. And I just finished up another one. So I'm only in the middle of a couple construction projects, because most of them are on the market, thank God. But, the struggles are real. It doesn't matter what level you're at, how long you've been with us, how much real estate you've done or haven't done. It's just the beginning. your success is not a destination, as you've always heard, right? It is a process and is continual, and it will continue to grow until you just stop, right? So you're always changing yourself, and you guys all know this. There's not a point where you get to, even with me, right? I've been with Renatus for in theory for 10 years. I've been the majority of my career has been with Renatus, and in the old company has been real estate, right? And it's a pretty good living, and I have a pretty decent portfolio, and I've done a lot of deals, but it doesn't mean that I don't constantly struggle on contractors, going over budget, having extra resources for projects when they run over, having extra resources for, properties that take longer to sell. These things are all real. It happens to everybody. And I'll tell you, the calls and the trainings and the events and the community are like, I don't know, lifeblood, if you want to call it that. They are things that motivate and continue to push people forward, push me forward. And that relationship, that opportunity to be a part of that is so powerful, you guys. And you'll experience this. I promise you, as you keep going. If you never learn to quit this business, and you never learn to quit Renatus, and you start to apply what you're learning, right? Take notes on your classes and on your trainings. Not only write down questions, but write down action steps, as we all talk about. That's my main advice I give to people that I work with all the time is make sure you're writing down not only questions, but also action steps. And then that way we can discuss the action step and implement it. But, as you move this, if you never learn to quit, you'll experience this, right? You'll experience the successes that you want. And then you'll simultaneously experience, it happens to us all kind of things where you wouldn't even imagine them, right? You can't even fathom that, if you were making 10 grand a month, or if you were making 20 grand a month, whatever it is that you're working towards right now, and you're in 2 or 3 fix and flips, or you close on a fix and flip that makes you 40 grand, you would think that life would be different. Life would be smooth, and life would be great. And it's not that life won't change a little bit. It actually does. Here we got a question. I'll finish that thought in a second. I get the MLM objection from candidates. What is your favorite way of handling that? So I really like. I would love to know what your conversation is, as to why you get that a lot. And I don't know. You might want to type in at what point is this an initial contact when you're doing an inviting to a group. But here's my thought is. Number one is I love what I really like this, and Michael says it a lot, is, and Christian, is that, what do you mean by that? So have them kind of explain it a little bit, so you have a couple opportunities, or you could ask a few questions. Do you mean like, because we have a referral system, or how we pay? You want to clarify it. You want to kind of ask them a few questions. So whenever I get an objection, of course, naturally there has to be a question to answer it. I don't want to answer an objection with a statement, in my opinion or my experience, right? And so, depending on what part of it that they are talking to you in. So I'm going to assume right now that it's the intro. It's getting them to the first event, and then we can talk about it after the first event, right? If they've seen it and they've experienced the fact that it is a direct sales company. But in the invite, based on your ad and your conversation, you might ask them, what is it? Go back to why they responded to how they called you in the first place, right? What did you call me for? What is it you wanted? You told me earlier, and then reiterate what they said, right? You told me earlier that you're really interested in real estate, and you wanted to learn how to fix and flip. Is that correct? And they'll say yes. And so you redirect, right? And you qualify them for the conversation. And then you provide a solution again to that problem. So you kind of eliminate it. And you also reiterate the fact that we are a real estate company. And so that if they're interested in this, and this story helps solidify that, and then this person they're going to meet and they're going to see or witness or experience this about real estate, it will again minimize the MLM part of their objection, if that makes sense. Again, it's hard for me to answer that question without knowing the context of how you're getting that conversation. Now, if they go to an event, and they see it after an event and they have an MLM objection, you want to, in my opinion, definitely understand their experience. What was your experience with MLM? And you could even do this on the initial call if you're booking somebody. But, what is your experience with MLM? What is your experience with direct sales or whatever? What negative? Why are you saying it's negative or whatever it is? And they can kind of share that with you. And if they've seen the event, and then they find out that we're a direct sales company after the fact, and they've gone there, again, we're going to go back to questions about, do they see the education as a resource, the community as a resource, the quality of our education, the opportunity as a resource that would help them move forward in their real estate business. And we would eliminate, right, the MLM, and would say, that's a portion of, and you can do it however you want, talk to your 5-star, but that's something that's not required. So it has nothing to do with the other, right? And so that would be my main goal. And then I would definitely tell a couple stories about some real estate experiences. And I may even, if I'm at an event or they just were at an event, I think that a third party validation would be the best way to go. And I would bring them over to my 5-star, or I would bring them over to one of the leaders or somebody else in the market and doing well in real estate. And I would pass them on. I'd say, hey, introduce them. I'd edify the person that I'm bringing them over to. And I may re-ask the question or restate the objection to that person and have them share their experience and to overcome that objection. And if we're on a call after an event or at a one-on-one, I might get on a 3-way, and that would be the way that I would handle that objection. Hera, if you want to personally call me or text me about it, and I could make it more personal, that'd be fine too. So I hope that helped. And again, these are like real things that happen all the time. And I can tell you, if someone's really, you guys from experience, if someone's really into an objection and it's hard to overcome, there's always the takeaway. Maybe this isn't for you. I know I got a lot of students, and this is personal, but you could tell the stories. I've got many, many, many students, especially over the years too, that are retail customers. I have a guy that I introduced to this in 2016, full boat combo holder, and he quit his job. He quit his job after his second flip with me, and now he's full-time real estate. He's not marketing. He's actually had a full sale, a full combo with a coworker. And that coworker comes to our events all the time. He's on my team. He's a passive sale. But this other gentleman is off doing his thing all over, buying property in Florida where he came from. But he's on several. I flipped at least a half a dozen houses in Phoenix, and people are retail customers. And so, you can take it away with a story. Sir, I can tell you this. This isn't for everybody, and it doesn't sound like it's for you. But I'll tell you, I know many people who needed the resources that we have. They saw what we did. And regardless of how we introduce people to the company and the opportunity, fortunately it worked for you because it got you here, but it's not something you have to participate in. But a lot of people, they just can't get past it, and they just walk away and they pass up a really great opportunity without really seeing the whole picture. I've got a friend of mine who has a couple students, and all they do is real estate. They don't even come to a lot of the events, but they take the resources and the education and the mentorship and all of that the coaching and everything we offer, and they run with it, and they create full-time real estate businesses for themselves just from Renatas. But if that's not for you, I totally understand. And that's the takeaway, you know, on any objection, you guys. You know, when there's an objection, in my opinion, and I would absolutely practice that with somebody in your group that you associate with, your 5-star, whatever. But, you know, you hear about it all the time, the takeaway. But here's the fact, is that if you're working with more than one person, the takeaway is pretty easy. Let me give you an example. I like these examples. You're welcome, Hera. You guys feel free to text and chat, whatever. I also am dealing with a customer of mine, a friend, and I think you know, she lives in Seattle. And I swear to God, I'd have to go back and see, but it could be going on 9-10 months that she's been Facebooked me and wanted to go to an event, and still has not gone to an event. And so 3-4 weeks ago, she booked out, and she's like, listen, I'm going to be here, 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 and here. And Tuesday night, I can go to the Seattle one, and I can go Tuesday, the 20, whatever today is, the 23rd. So, you know, I'm like, cool, I'll follow up with you a week before, whatever. And, you know, I communicate with her through Facebook, like her stuff, and, you know, make a comment. The other day, she's like, I'll be working forever. She makes a lot of work comments. And I'm like, no, you won't after Tuesday, you know, whatever I said. And, you know, she liked the comment or whatever and went on. And so she texted me yesterday. I follow up. I'm like, you know, tomorrow's going to be awesome. Whatever I said on my text, I follow up with her. And she's like, you realize that my Boston Red Sox are playing game 1 of the World Series tomorrow. And of course, you guys, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a diehard sports fan myself. I'm big into sports. I will tell you, I'm not canceling my own personal team call tonight at 6:00 for the World Series. I'm not going to make any money watching the World frickin' Series. There are most likely going to be 7 games. But that's me. And I'll tell you what I did, you guys, is she's like, I'm like, well, she's like, and then she gave me a couple more dates. She's like, I think the 30th is perfect, or whatever the heck it was. You know, I got this, and then after that, I got to go back down to San Diego and travel. So she's telling me this. She owns the Red Sox. No, she doesn't own them. That's her team. She's from there. She's a big New England fan. But so she goes, well, this will work out next week. And I said, I haven't looked at the schedule, but I'm fairly certain that's game 6 of the World Series is next Tuesday. So she checked the schedule. She's like, you're right. It's game 6. No worries. I'll go tomorrow, meaning tonight. So normally we would say, oh, that's awesome. You're going to love it, or whatever. We would text them or call them and say, you know, okay, positive reinforcement, whatever it is. You guys, I did not do that. I don't want her to go if she wants to be watching the freaking World Series. I don't care. It's someone I care about. And I texted her, I go, here's the deal. I think it's great you can go tomorrow, but I don't want you to go if you're going to watch the World Series. I said, I want your head to be in the game. I want you to want to be at the event. And I want you to go there with the intention of learning and meeting some of these folks and understanding where it's going to take you. I said, if you're going to go and you're going to be thinking about the World Series and worrying about it and wondering, you know, wishing you were watching it, I'd rather you just watch the World Series. You know, well, I'm not going anywhere. You can go next year to the event. And that's basically what I said. And, you know, that takeaway with a friend, a personal warm market friend who's fully qualified to buy, right? And is actually desiring, she's obviously hasn't been ready, but she's been able and willing to go for the last 10 months, but she hasn't been ready to go. I don't want her not ready to go. I want her to be all 3, ready, able, and willing. So if she's not ready, I don't want her just to show up, because she might as well not go. In fact, it's probably negative. It'll take her in the wrong direction. So I took it away, and her response is, you know, no, Billy, this is what I wanted. You're right, you know, so on and so forth, and whatever she said. So, you know, I'll follow up again today to confirm, to make sure that, you know, she's in the right state of mind. But you guys, the takeaway, in my opinion, is you're right, Isaiah. You're absolutely right, man. And Isaiah said it, you can't make money watching the World Series. I'll tell you, you guys, we watch all these people, and everybody on the damn TV pretty much that you're watching is a millionaire. multi, obviously, not just the players, but, all the coaches, the owners, the people, the celebrities at the game, the people sitting on the 50-yard line, you know what I mean? All the people there, I sent her a text, you guys, and this is the kind of stuff I think that is important, but I may be wrong. It's up to you guys, but, I sent her a text and I said, I said her name and I said, you know what? I go, the cool thing is, and this was before she told me I think it was in the first part of the conversation when she said that game one is Tuesday night. And I said, that's exactly why you want to go to Renatus and see this event. I said, because next year you can go to the damn World Series, or the next time the Boston Red Sox are in the World Series, you'll be able to go instead of watch it. And she laughed, she sent me a smiley face and it made sense to her, and she probably in her own mind was thinking, yeah, right. Like that's ever going to happen. But I mean, not that the World Series is super expensive. Anybody can go. You don't have to be rich to go to the World Series, but nonetheless, it's a decent expense and there's some travel involved and stuff like that. And it could be a bucket list thing for a lot of people. But, if you can afford to go to the World Series and not have a care, like just go, like Thanksgiving. My dad's a Notre Dame alum, and he's got a couple extra tickets to the to the USC game. And so he's like, hey man, what are you doing? You want to just fly up and meet me for the game? So my wife and I are, on Friday after Thanksgiving, we're just going to fly up there for a few days, meet my dad, go to the game, and stay right there in Pasadena. And it's just going to be amazing. We're just going to fly up there, have 3 days, just go to the game. We got 50-yard line tickets. It's just going to be great, right? So putting yourself in a position where it's not costing you a paycheck to go to a game, but you can just fly and go, and you can enjoy, and you can make money when you're gone, and you can be a part of it and experience it. 99%ers are going to watch sports on TV. They're going to go to NASCAR, and they're going to spend all of their money enjoying this time. And that's okay. That's what they do. It's what America is meant to do. And that's how all of the athletes and all of the sports and all of the TV and all of the major companies make their money, is on the majority. They're not concerned about the 1%ers that are not watching the TV while they're creating a life of abundance for themselves, right? So we're young, and whatever your age is, you're getting started and you're doing this. And those sacrifices, 2 years ago, the Indians were in the World Series, right? And the Indians are my team. And one of my students went to the World Series in Ohio, and I had the opportunity to go, but I was focused on Renatus, and I did not go. I chose to do my business. I had a lot of real estate going on, as I do now. And 5 years from now, that will make the difference. And I won't ever have to say no to anything. And not that I had to say no to that, right? But I say no to a lot of concerts. I don't miss a Thursday night. I don't allow those distractions to come in, and when I've got to focus on this business, and I've got to focus on my real estate, and I'm trying to accomplish a certain level. And you guys have the same choice. And so hopefully that helped out. I don't see any more comments. I forgot to give you guys my this is cool. I can't make same with soccer. I read it daily. I was just reading this comment. That's awesome, Isaiah. That's fantastic. You guys, I'm going to type in my cell phone number. For those of you who aren't watching the computer, it's 760-533-3141. It's almost 8 o'clock. I don't know if you got any more comments or questions. I'll leave you guys with this. whatever struggles you guys are going through, I hope I gave enough examples today. And they were kind of personal examples on some clients and some prospects and stuff. But there are times every single day, like I'm looking at a bill from an attorney, and it's $7,900, and I've already paid this guy $3,600, I think, for this case. Like that stuff is real. Like it may be a little bit more than a $79 bill for some people when they first get started with Renatus, like it was for me. $79 bill in 2008 and 9 was astronomical to me, because my bills were 14 grand a month because I had made so many mistakes, and I was it was overwhelmed with debt. You guys, it's still a $7,900 bill in a lawsuit that shouldn't have had to come to it. And I won the lawsuit, and I'm going to benefit from it, but I'm going to benefit over time. In the meantime, I got to pay the bill, right? I just wrote a check yesterday that I got to mail out today to my attorney. And this is one of 2 cases that he's working on. You guys, it is so real for everybody. No worries. It happens to all of us. Let's do whatever it takes by listening to these trainers. Listen to your guys like Michael, Christian. Those 2 trainers are absolutely amazing. They're PAT members and PIT members. They know what they're talking about. You listen to John O'Neill and the rest of the leaders across the country. Listen to your 5-star and overcome your issues, and know what John says. It's worth it. If you never learn to quit, it's worth it. And a $7,900 bill will be like a $79 bill. You guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. You're welcome. Rebecca, you guys are awesome. Keely, you're awesome. Congrats. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks, Isaiah. Still working on a settlement for 2 years. You and me both, brother. I've got a guy who owes me $85,000 or more now for 5 years on a lawsuit I won. I could do a whole training, you guys, on lawsuits. It's not a fun time. You guys, I love you. Have a great day. Use my cell phone, 760-533-3141. If you need me, I'll end the meeting. Everybody make it a great day. I'll see you at regionals. I'll see you at nationals. I'll see you on the call tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.